Do you have a shoebox full of receipts? Are you confused what type of business entity you should have? I know that these questions are ones that I'm always thinking about and I'm always getting asked in my groups. As a small business owner, it can be really frustrating and overwhelming. When do I file? Do I need to pay quarterly taxes? Well, you guys, I've got a special guest on the show today. Braden, say hello.
Hi everyone, excited to be here.
So excited to have Braden here. He's going to answer all those questions. I'm Fain Brandt with a LinkedIn Bakery, and I'm your host today for bite-sized tips for busy entrepreneurs. I know it's not tax season yet. We actually had this set up for like March, I think, and something came up, and that's okay because now we're going to give you plenty of time to get your questions answered and you can get prepared for that D-Day. Oh, I mean, for tax day, April 15th. Hi, Janae. So you guys, before we get started, you know what? I really like to know who my audience is. So we are going live on LinkedIn, Facebook groups, Facebook pages, and YouTube right now because of wonderful technology. So you know what? Drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from and what kind of business you have. And what questions do you have for my special guest today? Because we are here to serve you. Now, you guys, usually at tax season, you're one of two types of people. You're either super excited because you're getting a huge refund, which I know is not really what you want to do, right? You want to have your money during the year. Or you're frustrated and freaked out because you have no idea what you should be writing off, how to file your business taxes, and you're just like crazy. Or maybe you're that third person. It's not April 15th that freaks you out. It's October 15th. Right here. I'm the one who files an extension every year. And my goal for next year is not to do that. And I know I'm going to learn some great tips today. There's got to be an easier way to understand our businesses and our business taxes. So Braden Drake of Braden Drake Law, he serves the creative community and helps small businesses with contracts, so important, business formation, trademark, and taxes. You've got to set up your business right from the get-go so that you don't get into some pickles, like maybe with trademarks and stuff. You guys, go ahead and share the show right there. Hit that little button. Share it out on whatever platform that you're watching, because I know that there are people that need to watch the show and ask questions and get their questions answered. I'm just going to check something and get their questions answered about small businesses, contracts, taxes, and just all that stuff, that backdoor stuff that we don't want to take care of because we want to work in our sweet spot, but we have to take care of it. So in this episode, you guys know me, we always share and talk about 3 tips. We're going to talk about the importance of having a business entity, the importance of business accounts, and how to track your expenses. But before we get started, you guys know that I always like to share where we met. I don't just go online, Google someone's name or their industry and pick someone offline. I actually know my guests. I know, shocking, right? So Braden and I, we met at Pat Flynn's meetup. And tell everyone where you work and why, like, this is the perfect meetup. Pat Flynn's fabulous, right?
Yes.
But the meetup is like, what, 5 steps from where you work?
Yeah, so it's two flights of stairs.
Woo, so you get a little exercise. So he actually works downtown at WeWork, and Pat Flynn has a wonderful entrepreneur meetup every month. And so I went and we met, and we've kind of seen each other on Facebook, kind of online, and then we kind of took it offline. And I'm like, you need to be a guest on my show because we need to learn all that information that you have. Now, I know we can't do that in 45 minutes, but that's why we tackle three small tips. So go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about your background, how you got started, and why you're in this space of serving the small businesses and the creative community.
Sure. So I know that kind of my personality, my background, and what I do is a conundrum to a lot of people. They see the baseball cap and like the sweats that I wear to the office every day, and they get real caught off guard.
Yeah, you don't look like the normal attorney business person.
No.
I mean,
I'm like, my clients are always here for it. We have meetings, we go across the street and get tacos at the taco stand, and then grab a draft beer from the tap and sit down for our meeting.
Sign me up.
Yeah, so My background is this. I'm originally from Indiana, moved to San Diego for law school, did that whole thing, graduated, took and passed the California bar exam, which licenses me to practice law in the state of California. After the bar exam, I actually got my master's degree in tax law. Worked at
Impressive.
H&R Block for a minute with their research department, did some tax returns, all that sort of stuff. So when you really boil it down, I have a business law practice, and then a lot of the stuff I do also overlaps with what a typical CPA would do as well.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. And you were telling me before we started, before I hit the live button, that you like opened your business immediately after graduating. Like, that's a lot. Like, law school is
Yes.
intense, and then you're like, I'm not even going to go work for anyone else. I just graduated. I passed all the crazy exams. Let me start a business now.
Yeah, I always knew that I really wanted to be an entrepreneur, and it's kind of this weird thing that I had where midway through law school, I was thinking of all the different crazy business ideas I could have to eventually start my own business. And then it kind of dawned on me, well, solo law practice is entrepreneurship, and that's a pretty common thing. So I decided that I just wanted to do it straight out of school because my reasoning was if I went and took a really cushy law firm salary, it was going to be very difficult for me to ever want to leave that to start my own business. So I just went ahead and did it while both my husband and I were already used to me being broke.
I love it. But you know what? That's a really good point because we do get used to that corporate or law firm salary and the benefits, and it's really hard to walk away. And you knew in your heart that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and serve this community, and you would not be able to do that if you had gone to work for a big cushy law firm.
Right.
So,
It kind of required us to keep living on the same income with the same expenses we had while I was in school, while I built my business. So it never felt like we had to scale back anything, which has been nice. And now hopefully we'll be reaping the rewards in the years to come.
I love it. I love this story. Hopefully encourages other people, right? To start their entrepreneur journey or come meet up with us the first Wednesday of the month that we work downtown if you're in San Diego, and meet up with us in person, and Pat Flynn when he's there. Wow. That's really impressive. So, you know what? I'm just like, wow, okay, law school passed, got a master's in the business tax, and then like, let's start a business because I haven't had
Sure.
enough stress.
It's fun. I like it.
That's good. It's important. And you know what? That really comes across because you're always smiling. You totally enjoy what you do, and you love serving the creative community that you serve. And I've been on some of your Facebook live shows, and I'm in Braden's private groups. Like I said, I don't just pick these people off offline. I do my little research, right? So I know that he knows his shit. He knows what he's talking about. So let's just jump into the first topic, which I think this is a biggie. It's like the importance of having a business entity. So I'm going to let you take it away and describe the different entities and why we need to have one.
Sure. So I know your show is all about bite-sized tips, so I actually want to start there
Okay.
because these topics can become much larger than I don't know what the opposite of bite-size would be, but it can become that really quickly, like a full meal, right? So I'll give the bite-size. I'll lead with the bite-sized tip, and then we'll go into more details after that.
Perfect.
So when it comes to legal entities, the main thing I like to explain is that you essentially have a sole proprietorship. That's the default if you're a solo business. And then there's essentially LLCs and corporations. Those are your two options. A lot of people don't really know how S-corps work, and I can break it down more later, but S-corps are not actually a type of entity. It's just a tax status. So so you form an LLC or a C Corp, and then you elect for that entity to be taxed under a certain part of the tax code, and that's when we say that you have an S Corp. So my bite-sized tip is this. For everyone starting out, an LLC is never a bad idea. It does not affect your income tax. In California, it is $800 a year, so it can be some expense to get it up. But if you're in a low-cost state where it's only $100 a year, or some of them are even free, then just get your LLC right out of the gate. And then once you're profiting $50,000+ in your business, that's when it's an ideal time to find a tax professional who can advise you on when to convert your LLC to an S Corp.
Oh, okay. So at a certain level is when you would convert that. Because I know that's a question that we've even talked about in your Facebook group. Like, okay, at what, I just realized I better plug my computer in. I thought that I did that. Hold on, folks. There we go. Gotta love technology. So I know that in your group, we asked that question like, oh, do we need to make a certain amount before we become an LLC? Do we need to be in business a certain amount of years? Or do we need employees? So what I'm understanding is it's just really good to do as soon as possible, the LLC, because it protects you. Is that why?
Yes. So quick note, I'm not seeing your video anymore. I don't know if you disappeared for everyone else as well.
No, I'm streaming live on LinkedIn.
Okay, all right, perfect. So that's fine. Yeah, so to answer your question, LLCs are great for liability protection. So the idea of an LLC is it separates you from your business. We've all heard the term corporations are people. Well, LLCs are really people too. It's like its own person. So once you do your LLC, it's its own separate thing over there. And if your LLC gets sued, then it helps shield your personal assets. So that's the real purpose. I see people post in Facebook groups all the time, like, oh, you should get an LLC so it will save you taxes. That's not really how it works. Okay. But on the flip side, I see people who say all the time, oh, well, my CPA told me not to get an LLC until I'm making X amount of dollars. And really, when you translate that, what they're saying is, my CPA told me that I won't be ready for an S Corp election until I'm making X amount of money. But they don't understand that their CPA is not advising them on legal outcomes, just tax outcomes. And I talk about both of those things. So that's why I kind of toot my own horn, because I can kind of cover both areas. Right.
Okay, that makes a little more sense, because I know that that's a question that's always asked in my groups. Always asked about, and I was asking about it because I know here in California it's like $800 for the annual fee, and I'm like, that's a lot of money. And I think that most people do think that there's a tax benefit. So
yeah,
clear, there's no tax benefit.
Right, but my guidance is if you have a full-time job and then you're starting like a part-time side hustle, like it's definitely worth your money to, put a cash investment into your business and get your LLC. I work with a lot of clients who are making, $20,000, $30,000 a year, which here in California, that's not very much money. Right. And they don't have a full-time job. So if they're in a relatively non-risky business where there's not a lot of liability involved, then sure, like be a sole prop for a while. But if you're going to start, like a rock climbing company or a base jumping company, I say you can't afford to do business until you can afford to have your LLC.
Okay, that's a really good tip. Yeah, where someone could get hurt, right?
Exactly. So I work with a lot of wedding industry professionals. So wedding venue owners, I say an LLC is a must. And almost all of my other clients, I highly encourage it, but I don't tell them that they have to have it.
Okay. That gives us some clarity. Thank you so much. I think the next thing that we had listed to talk about, unless there's something else that you want to add, are we good?
I think that's kind of a good overview. If anyone wants more information, I have blogs on business entities. I have my own podcast. So lots of resources. You can shoot me a DM and I'll send you links to any of that stuff.
And we have in the event that was created on my Facebook page, Mary Fain Brandt Coaching and Consulting, I think that we have all the different ways that someone can contact you on social media, etc. So
perfect.
Yeah. So I think our next topic is business bank accounts. So many people start a business and they co-mingle their funds, right? They're starting off, they don't want to pay for a fee for a checking account, a business account. You don't really have many transactions at the beginning, or you don't really need a physical bank, right? Because it's just like someone's paying you on PayPal or Square. So go ahead, take it away. Tell us all about business accounts and what we should be doing.
Sure. So bite-sized tip on business accounts. If you have an LLC or corporation, these are things I call formal entities. So it's anything other than the default, which for a solo business owner would be a sole prop. If you have any of those, you must have a business bank account. It's non-negotiable. You need to have it in order to maintain your liability protection.
Okay.
If you're a sole proprietor, not required to have a business bank account, but highly encouraged, because it's going to make your bookkeeping and financial management a lot easier, and it will also help your transition into an LLC and S Corp when you're ready to make that jump.
I also think to add on to the business account, well, let's talk about the bank account. So we're both fans of Amy Porterfield, and I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how they have, it was when she had Hot Hobie on. She calls him Hot Hobie, her husband, right? The firefighter. I've never seen a picture of him, but I can only imagine. But anyways, so she had him on the show, and they were talking about how she had learned, and I forget, there was a book she read or something about you have several accounts on your bank account. And he said at first they had like 15 accounts, and he was like, why do we need so many accounts? And the funny thing is, I do that. And my husband was like, why do I need 7 accounts? I'm like, we need the boat account, we need the tax account. And this is just personally. Taxes for us personally, the boat account for repairs, our car account, our general savings, and our vacation savings. And vacation is broken into 2. He's like, this is crazy. But you know what? Come vacation time, that little money was put aside. We need a repair on the boat. We've already got $400 saved. So Amy was talking about in your business account, you need to have separate accounts in there, like a tax account. You want to talk about a little bit about that in your business accounts?
Yeah, so I remember listening to that episode. I don't remember if Amy references it, but there's a pretty popular book right now called Profit First.
That's it. I need to write that down.
So check it out. I'm actually going to be teaching the Profit First model inside of my courses now, and I've been doing some Facebook Lives on it.
Okay.
But essentially, if anyone's familiar with like the envelope system, I have like extended family members who are big on the envelope system. That's where you actually cash your paychecks when you get paid, and you divvy up the money into different envelopes. So I have one aunt who's like obsessed with Christmas, and she puts like 10% of all of her income into a Christmas envelope.
Wow.
Yeah, to buy Christmas presents.
Okay.
So yeah, you do that. You have car repairs, you have, food, all these different envelopes. So the idea of really the Profit First system is, first of all, to take profit first in your business. So the purpose of it is, he talks a lot in the book about how our typical formula for profit is income minus expenses equals profit. And he advises that you flip the script and you say that income minus profit equals expenses. So you create an income account where all your business income goes into that bank account. And then you divvy the money up between a profit account that you'll pay yourself as the sole owner of your business on a quarterly basis. You have an owner's comp account, which is where your salary goes. You have a business expense account, that's your OpEx account. And then I'm probably missing one. And a tax account.
And a tax account. And
right.
She was like, it's 40% this and 30% for taxes, and then, your expenses. So I think how that would help me, for those that know and love me, I am addicted to AppSumo. Like totally addicted. I buy $49. I'm like always buying new programs and apps. Shiny syndrome. And so if I were to pay myself first, pay my and then do my taxes, and then whatever's left over, if I were to flip that model, I'd probably have more money saved up.
Yeah, so the idea is that money goes into your profit and tax accounts first, and you pay yourself. Those are like your top 3 priorities. And then you divvy the money into your operating expense account. So the idea is that you only can really have expenses to the extent that you have the money in your operating expense account. Because what always happens is that as we scale our business, we are like, oh great, we hit a really great revenue this month, so I'm going to buy this course, or now I'm going to sign up for this $50 a month app that I want to have.
Or I'm going to buy new lights, a new microphone. I mean,
right.
How much equipment and stuff do we buy?
What happens is instead of keeping your expenses at 30% of your gross income, you just keep making it to where you're only making $1,000 in your business, but your expenses start to creep and make up a larger percentage of your income. So it's kind of to choke that off and to get your finances under control. But I also really like it because it integrates really well into the system that I teach for paying quarterly taxes and getting like your shit together in your business.
Yeah, and speaking of quarterly taxes, they were due Monday. So if you
Yes.
haven't paid them, I don't know, do you still send them in late?
Yeah, so penalties and interest on quarterly taxes are charged on a month-to-month basis. So the sooner you pay, the better. So even if you missed Monday, then you should pay them now. So the way it works is it's 0.05%, so half of a percent penalty per month that you're late. So if you're only like a week late, then you're at like 0.01% of whatever your payment was. So like $10 basically.
Okay. So that profits book, so Janae, a friend and colleague, you might know her. I don't know if she's been to Pat Flynn's, but she's over on LinkedIn and she's putting the links in for the book for us. Awesome. Thank you, Janae, for joining us. So question regarding those quarterly taxes. So I'm not an LLC yet, right? So when I do my taxes, it's with my husband. Do I still pay quarterly taxes on my business?
Yes.
I got an EIN number, so I should be paying quarterly taxes under that.
Right. So you still pay quarterly taxes. When you're married, really the way you have to look at it is your joint income is going to inform your tax rate. So you'll look at your joint income and where you fall like in the tax brackets. That'll determine the tax rate that you're going to pay. But then you're going to pay quarterly taxes based on that tax rate on your business income.
That's when I just hire you. Okay. Got it.
Right.
That's when I just
Sure.
hire you.
To give some context, my husband's 9 years older than me. He's also an attorney. So when I was in my first year in business, I made $12,000. So normally, if I were single, I would owe $0 in taxes after standard deductions and all of that. But since my husband made significantly more than me, I actually was in the 20% tax bracket. So I needed to consider that when looking into my quarterly taxes.
Okay, good to know. Okay. Fabulous. Wow. So much to take out. And I know we're just doing the bite-sized tips, you guys. We're just trying to give you some information. But if you have any, I'm trying to read all the different comments. If there are any comments, you know what? We promise to go in the next 24 hours and answer your questions. We'll do that. So let's, we talked about bank accounts. We talked about business entities. How do we track our expenses?
So there are a lot of ways you can do it. The most popular option is probably QuickBooks, and I do recommend that. If everyone wants to go to later on, Braden Drake, which is my website, bradendrake.com/books, BOOKS. I have my different recommended tools, but I kind of recommend 3. So if you're just starting out, and you're kind of a manual mode person, I have a Microsoft Excel template you can use to track your business expenses. That's a good option for people who have fewer than like 25 business transactions a month, because you can log that in 5 or 10 minutes on the last day of every month. So that's the first option. The second option is QuickBooks. And for QuickBooks, it really is extra helpful if you have your business expenses properly separated like we talked about earlier, because you link QuickBooks to your business bank account. So it will auto-import all your transactions.
That and credit cards. I forgot to bring up credit cards. So I have a corporate credit card that's just for my business. I put everything on that, and then I pay the credit card off. Is that a good strategy?
Perfect. Yes, it is. So if you want to use credit cards to get the rewards, you just want to make sure, just like bank accounts, that you have a separate card for personal and a separate card for business.
I do. And it just makes it easier. Then and then every month when I get that bill, I pay it off in full, you guys. Don't let those charges rattle on and on and on. You got to pay that bill. That's the only thing that you have to be careful with. Okay.
Yes, you don't want to pay interest on your business expenses.
No, that's not good. Not at all. Okay, so, thank you, Janae. She said that she hasn't met you face to face, but she saw his post on Pinterest for a VA or something and applied, I think. But she also just put your website up for everyone to find. I love this woman. She's amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's always helping us out. Definitely good. QuickBooks, definitely good, especially for privacy policy. Okay.
Yeah, so QuickBooks, you connect it to your business bank account. And then the nice thing about QuickBooks is once you get rolling with it, it will start to auto apply rules. So if you use a particular app for marketing, like you can tell QuickBooks that's a marketing expense. And then every time that pops back up on a monthly basis, it can auto categorize for you. So it saves you more time the longer you use it. Yeah.
Because who can remember that stuff later on, you know?
Right. After QuickBooks, if you're ready just to fully outsource, you can always hire a bookkeeper, highly recommended. I recommend working with a one-on-one bookkeeper if you have a product-based business where you carry inventory, or if you have a business where you send out a lot of invoices that ever require follow-ups. So if you have to deal with failed payments, anything like that, great to have a dedicated bookkeeper. The other option I recommend is I'm an affiliate for a company called Bench, and I basically use them as an independent contractor to do books for all of my clients. So it's kind of like a hybrid between a QuickBooks and a dedicated bookkeeper. You get a bookkeeper through Bench, and then they will manage all your books and ask you questions whenever they're not sure how to classify something.
So do you recommend, we were talking earlier, I don't have a dedicated bookkeeper. I hire my bookkeeper when it's tax time, right? Like,
yes.
We're doing like a twice a year thing, right? I'm thinking that for this next year, I need to have a bookkeeper quarterly go do my books so I'm not in this panic mode like I'm in right now. Is that a good way for someone who's got some traction but not at that next level?
Yeah, so Bench is about $150 a month. It can be as low as $100 a month if you pay like a year in full. Most dedicated bookkeepers, experienced ones, are going to kind of start at the $300 a month mark.
Okay.
So that's why I recommend going with a solo bookkeeper who has their own accounting business. If you need more face-to-face interaction with them and contact points, Bench is really great if you want to outsource it and you need to check in to say, hey, this is like that kind of expense, but you don't really need to have a lot of face-to-face. And the reason why is because they're equally as qualified as a dedicated like outside bookkeeper would be, but they probably have a lot more clients, so you're not going to get as personalized attention. But it's at a lower price point.
And they have good customer service. You've had great customer service, turnaround time. Like that's usually a question. Especially, I don't need FaceTime. I send an email, and my bookkeeper will send me an email back, and I'll answer it.
Yeah, it's all done like through their platform. So you log into your Bench account, and then they have a messaging portal in there, like inside your book.
I like it. So Janae, I think she's trying to type Bench too. Do you have a link on your website for that?
I do. So if you go to that bradendrake.com/books, it has a link to my Excel template, to QuickBooks with my affiliate discount and Bench. I am like I said, I am an affiliate for Bench. I get $300 for everyone who signs up for Bench.
Wow.
So I always disclose my affiliate programs, but obviously if you decide to check it out, I very much appreciate you going through the link.
And why not? I'm a big proponent of, if I'm going to do business with someone, can I do it with someone I know, like, and trust, right? If I'm going to buy it, why wouldn't I buy it from you and help support you, right?
Yeah, and I also offer bookkeeping packages with additional services above and beyond what they do. If anyone has any questions on what's a good fit for them, feel free to message me. I promise I won't sell you bullshit and try to get you to pay $300 for something if like a $100 a month option is going to be perfectly fine for you.
I love that about you. I do really love that about you because you're like, don't overpay. You don't always need a huge package or a dedicated bookkeeper. So I really appreciate that. What I appreciate about you is that you're down to earth and you're like, no bullshit. Like, you're the no BS guy. Like, I love it. Like, no, you don't really need that, or yes, you should do this. And you explain why we should do that. So the LLC thing is probably something that I know I need to look into, and a couple other people watching that don't have their LLC yet. You know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to call you out. But I know there's like 3 or 4 people that are in my private group that are like on that cusp, and it's time to create that LLC. So here's your guy. Wait, wrong way. Here's your guy right here that can help you out. You know what? Is there any? Let's do one bonus tip. What's a bonus tip for a creativepreneur that you can share right now?
Sure. So let's circle back to S corps real quick. This is kind of like my best selling tip at the end. I typically recommend S corps if you are profiting at least $70,000 in your business profit. So
Okay.
income minus expenses. If you're at 70,000 and you are at the point where you're ready to set up an S corp, there are a few requirements you need to meet. Then it can likely save you like $2,000 to $4,000 a year in taxes. So it's well worth the expense to work with a professional to set it up.
And that's a annual filing fee, or what is that?
So it's the same cost as an LLC, but I always recommend once you do an S corp to at that point have a more sophisticated bookkeeping system, and you also need to get on payroll. So you want to outsource your books, and then payroll is going to cost you about $50 a month. And the reason why is because S corps are a little bit more likely to be subject to audit because people will abuse them. So you just want to make sure that you're working with a professional who sets it up correctly, and also that you have your books in order so that you can verify your income and your salary.
Great. You know, we have a couple more minutes. Janae said bonus tips, yes. Let's talk about something personal to both of us without getting into it. Setting up your business, and people know my story. So I want to talk about your trademarks or your business license. So people know that the LinkedIn Bakery, serving up bite-sized tips, that I had a colleague create the social media bakery with my teal cupcake, right? And serving up tips or something. And it was someone I knew and I worked with, and I was like, what? And my Facebook manager brought that to my attention. This was probably 18 months ago, at least. And I was like devastated because she knew the LinkedIn Bakery, you guys, that name honors my mom who passed away from Alzheimer's in 2016 because she was an amazing baker. It's a talent I had, and when I rebranded, we came up with a LinkedIn Bakery serving up bite-sized tips, and she went with it. And when I called her out on it, she shut down the website, but she's like, I was just so inspired by you. That's great to be inspired, but you can't take someone I worked with. She actually came to my labs and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh. And it's going to happen as a business owner. I know that I share a lot of information, and then I'll see that person just went and taught a workshop, and I'm like, really? You worked with me for a month, and now you're a LinkedIn expert? But what advice do you have when it comes to trademark, business license, like a couple tips on what we should do when we're starting off, or when we're like, oh shit, this is going somewhere. What do I do to protect my business?
Yeah, so if you have a name that you're really tied to and you plan on, scaling to become a nationwide service provider or product, then it's always worthwhile to get your trademark out of the gate. And this is one area where I do not recommend DIYing any of it. Trademarks can be a mess, and if you try to file it yourself and mess it up, it will actually cost you more money to have an attorney fix the problem you created. So whenever people ask me when should I get a trademark, I always ask them, well, when would you be pissed off if someone took your name and started using your same branding? And if the answer is like, yeah, I'd be pretty mad about that, then you want to trademark it.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the second part of that. So what if you can't trademark your name? And I mean, like, this has happened to me, and we're not going to say anything else about that. But if you pick a name and you don't know that you can't trademark it, do you keep using it, or do you come up with and you're established? Like, what do you do? What's your advice? Let's be honest here. Like the LinkedIn Bakery, I can't trademark that.
Sure. So you've already done a search on it?
So when this whole social media bakery thing came down, I was connected with a woman in one of my networking groups that was an attorney. So I paid her to do that research part, because I know I'm not going to try to do that. So she did that, and they have it wrapped up. It's in concrete. Like, you can't use LinkedIn anywhere, at all.
Oh yeah, because LinkedIn is in your name. Got it. Okay. So two things. Just because you can't trademark your name doesn't necessarily mean that you're violating someone else's trademark.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. Second is that whenever someone has a trademark, it's their responsibility to police it and enforce their own trademark. So you can actually, someone can start to lose their trademark protection through dilution. So basically other people encroaching on their mark and them not enforcing it. So kind of your worst case scenario is if you're using a name that you know you can't trademark, is that you eventually get a cease and desist letter for you to stop using that name.
That's what I thought.
And then you rebrand. I give all this information with the caveat that I actually do not consider myself to be a trademark expert. I am of counsel for an intellectual property law firm, and they handle all of my clients' trademark and copyright work.
Okay, good to know that you have someone to refer us to. Because I also know that there's like the LinkedIn diva, the LinkedIn guy. Like there's a gazillion people that use LinkedIn. Now, my business name is Mary Fain Brandt Coaching and Consulting. The LinkedIn Bakery is just a division.
Right. Yeah, and if you ever, if your audience has a lot of trademark and copyright questions, I would be happy to connect you with my trademark friend. She's starting her own podcast all about trademarks, so she's very much in the same world as well.
We should drop that in the comments, below. So let's do that, because that might be something that would be helpful for our audience. Wow. So Braden, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and sharing some bite-sized tips on setting up our businesses for success from day one. You don't want to get 3 years down the road and be like your taxes are a mess, your credit card bills, your bank accounts, right? Or your trademarks. So these are all things that we really need to set up from day one. This is what I say. I always ask my clients, is this a hobby or is it a business? If it's a hobby, do whatever you want. But if you're serious about your business, set it up legally, have your business entity, your business bank accounts, get your tax stuff in order, and trademarks. I love that you said, at what point would you be upset?
Right.
What point would you be upset that someone's using your cupcake, Mary? Well, from the very first time they did it. So, lesson learned on me. I like to share the good and the bad and ugly with my audience so that you guys can learn from my mistakes, right? I feel like it's a teaching moment. So finally, we will have contact information should you want to work with Braden. Go check out his website. That's bradendrake.com. Did I say
yes.
That?
Braden.
He has amazing templates. He has a private Facebook group. He's got courses out if you want to do it yourself. I'm just going to hire him personally because I don't want to do it myself. And you guys, don't forget to join me Monday, motivation at 7 a.m. for 7 minutes or less of your motivation for the week. And then my next Facebook show is going to be October 6th with Christine Gritman. We met at Social Media Marketing World. She's all about marketing, and she's going to drop some knowledge bombs on you guys. And finally, if you're ready to attract your ideal clients using LinkedIn, if you've been doing it yourself, trying to figure it out, I'm telling you there's a better way. There's 2 ways. You can work with me for 3 months and learn all the ins and outs about LinkedIn, or you can take my newly rebranded, revamped, made over LinkedIn course for entrepreneurs, which is amazing. 7 modules. We even go over how to use LinkedIn Live. So if you don't have it yet, I'm going to set you up to learn how to do that. You can message me at hello@maryfainbrandt.com, and I'll drop the link down below. Registration is open till October 4th, you guys. So Braden, thank you so much for your time. You've been amazing guest. I've learned a lot. I know I have some work to do. So 2020, and the year 2020 is like to get everything set up legit and all processes. The bank accounts are there, the corporate credit card, but I think it's going to be time to file that LLC.
Yes, and I will challenge everyone, if your goal is to start fresh with 2020, it means you need to be implementing all of this stuff now so it's set up and ready to implement on January 1st.
Good point. So I guess I'm going to look into that LLC now. Thank you for that reminder. Okay, you guys, thanks for joining us. Make sure that you drop your comments or questions below, and we will get back to you. Have a great day. Ciao.